right, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. We have Skip back on. We've had so
Hey.
many guest speakers recently that Skip's had a nice long break since like February,
Yes.
or whenever we recorded the last one with you on it. And anyways, we're like, man, how do we even load this up now? Like Skip's like,
Yeah.
where's the link?
Where's the link? Yeah.
So we're here and we're talking about business stress today, and the you have your personal stress that you like to deal or don't like to deal with. You go eat some ice cream, get some more sleep, things like that. But what do you do when your business is under stress? And different things cause stress in business. It could be that you're bringing on a bunch of new clients. It could be that you lost a big client. It could be that you lost a couple employees that moved on or evolved in the world. And I'm always getting questions from people in the MSP world, like, okay, I lost an employee. Do you know anybody who can work as a tier one tech? Hey, we just got this really big contract. How do we ramp up for this thing? We're really nervous. And all of this amounts to different kinds of stress that gets put on your business. And you know that in your personal life, if you're under stress, like you're getting ready for a big trip, your spouse got a new job or you got a new job, that there's ways to deal with it.
Mhm.
And hopefully by this point in your life, you have found healthy ways to deal with it other than alcoholism and just taking it out on everybody around you. And so in your business, what do you do that's healthy? Like when you have a large contract coming in, instead of freaking out and having toxic stress, how do you deal with that and absorb it or recognize that, okay, we need to take a step back here and think, how do we integrate this into our daily activities? And
Yeah.
that's the step one. That's the question. Some people, when they have, like, say, in this case, a big contract coming in, they will pause everything. And then when that
Mhm.
contract hits, then they start. And like, okay, we'll just deal with it as it comes in. Like, that's not a healthy way to do it. It's like, hey, you're going to go on this big vacation and you're just going to kind of like deal with it when it happens
Yeah.
rather than planning out as much as you can ahead of time. And then while you're on vacation, be adaptable. Don't be rigid. Make sure you're being flexible. Like plans change, rides break down, or planes get delayed. Things happen, and you're adaptive. And if you're not adaptive, you're just going to be stressed the whole time. Same
Well,
thing with the business. When you're bringing in a big deal and you're doing something that's exciting, be adaptive. The deal's not going to go the way you want it to. It's going to change. Things are going to need to be adapted. You're going to have to adjust for them. They're going to have to adjust for you. Things aren't going to be meeting expectations. And so your goal here is, how do you set yourself in a mindset that is going to be successful rather than self-sabotage?
yeah. I think we need to roll back though just a little bit and recognize recognizing stress. And I think sometimes we take these burdens on and we know it's stressful, right? Maybe you've been dealing with stressful situations for many, many years, right? And it's just kind of just become a part of life. But you still need to recognize that, wait, this is a stressful situation. It's probably going to change some of my instinctive reactions. I'm probably going to be a little bit more jaded about this, or short on my answers with this sort of response or whatever. So I think just first of all, recognizing when you get stressed out and being able to take that self-assessment and going, you know, um, I got it, but this is more than what I'm normally dealing with. And then, especially for owners and managers, you need to recognize that your stress creates stress, all right? And some of these business situations are also going to create stress. And while you may find it normal, all right, to get into stressful situations, you've been through these cycles, over the decades or whatever, and you're like, I can handle stress. I can do, you've maybe Maybe you just handle it. Maybe you've got your, your techniques or whatever. But when you expect your team to just handle the stress without giving it an appropriate amount of thought, you're
Yeah.
going to set yourself up for more stressful situations. So as these things come up, the stress is part of life, right? So this is not, you've done something wrong, right? If we had no stress, things would probably be kind of weird. But so recognize when you're entering into these stressful seasons or situations, and then be prepared then to look for solutions or mitigate the effects of it. But if you're just going to try to wait until you're so stressed out that you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to do something. Yeah, that's a bit late in the game, and now you're going to be playing catch up. You can get yourself in a much better position if you just recognize when the stress is happening.
Yeah, know your tells, right? So in business, what are like when I'm stressed in my personal life, I want to go get a beer, sit down and relax, or I get a little snippier with people. Like I find myself being a little bit more of a jerk, and like know your tells. And then so you can be like, oh, sorry, I've been a jerk lately. I've been under a lot of stress. Let me make it up to you. In your business, how do you know your business is under stress? And, for me, the top things to tell, like if a client, like when one of you people reach out to me and say, hey, look, I don't know what to do here. I need help. Like signs of stress in when I'm watching your team, when I'm watching your MSPs is constantly rescheduling.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to juggle things in the moment. You have lost control. And so you are trying to juggle things in the moment. So you're constantly rescheduling. So you're under a lot of stress because the highest priority thing is coming up all the time and it's reorganizing your schedule.
Yep.
Other things like, are you under a lot of stress as a company? And you can see that your financials, you haven't looked at your books in forever. You're out of your routine. You're not doing regularly scheduled check-ins with your teams. You're not doing regularly scheduled check-ins with your finance officers, with your resources. And that's how you kind of can see some of these tells that you are under a lot of stress, even if you don't feel stressed. We as IT people tend to just put our heads down and work. I went through a really hard time in my life where I adopted 4 kids, and I had like 3 bosses at this organization, and they're constantly putting me on overnight. And my fix for this was just to work harder.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't working because I was emotionally exhausted from home. I was physically exhausted from not sleeping and being on call constantly and being sent for these overnight trips to fix things at data centers. And I just thought if I worked harder, this will pass. And I just kept getting worse and worse at my job. I kept getting worse and worse at my family. And I should have recognized that I was burning out, that I was having stress, and should have found a healthy way to deal with that. Like talk to my boss and say, I need to get sleep. I need a break.
Yep.
And I did. I remember talking to him about that. Like I was so frazzled. Like, look, I can't take 2 weeks of on call anymore because my backup on call isn't picking up the phone. Please make them pick up the phone. I cannot take this much longer.
Yep.
And nothing was ever done about it. And I just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And if I could have just had a couple weeks to recenter, go camping, do anything just to recenter, I would have been fine. But I just couldn't because I didn't recognize how much stress I was under until it was too late. And when I finally dealt with it and got sleep and started doing self-care, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better now.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize how bad things were. So you as a business need to say, if you spend the time in this stressful mode that's too long, it will self-correct. And you don't, when you want to do that, of course, too late. So as an employee, you get fired or your spouse leaves you or something blows up on you and forces you to recenter. In your business, you start losing clients. You lose employees who find this environment does not work for me anymore.
That's right.
and you start losing revenue and bad things start happening because you overextended yourself and you didn't deal with it. And this is part of growth. As you grow, you're going to overextend. And that's okay, because then you adapt when you recognize that you've overextended and you make plans. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we're bringing on this big client. This is going to put us over capacity. And then work with your employees to say, okay, how can we adapt to this? Do we need to hire a new person? Do we need to partner up with another MSP? What do we need to do to make this sustainable?
Uh,
And that is the question I want everybody to ask themselves right now. Is what I'm doing right now sustainable? And
yes.
based upon your answer is going to change how you're going to react to the stress in your business. So if your life right now in your personal life is sustainable, you're like, oh, this is great. Now you get to ask yourself, should I add on something else?
Mm-hmm.
If your life is overwhelming, what do I cut out? What do I stop doing? Sometimes it means you cut out friends. Maybe it means you cut out a social activity. Maybe it means you cut out something that's causing like a volunteer thing. Optional items. In business, it's the same thing. If you feel like your business is sustainable right now, okay, should you be adding on something? Should you be chasing a new opportunity to grow faster? If you
Yep.
feel like your business is not sustainable, that you cannot keep up this workload, you cannot keep up this pattern, then you got to say, how do I get out of this? Do I need to cut something out to become sustainable? Or what do I need to change to become sustainable? Either of those two things, you might want to talk to a coach. You might want to talk to a
Yep.
business expert to help you, because you're lost. You might not be thinking clearly. You need an outside opinion. This is where I think coaches are the most valuable.
Yep. Well, and I think, you know, a lot of businesses, and we see this, you know, on a pretty regular basis. We see a lot of MSPs that their business is in an unsustainable mode, but they've been that way for a really long time. And they kind of feel like, yeah, things are crazy, but we'll just deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And what they don't realize that it is self-correcting. They are losing employees, they are losing business, but they're attributing that to just normal business, and
Status quo.
that is factual. I mean, you are going to lose employees, you are going to lose business. Nothing stays forever, but you're not losing them in ways that make sense. All right, when you get an employee that takes a new job somewhere else because of some fantastic offer, you know, and they got double the salary, that there's no way that you could, you know, meet that. Those are things that just happen. When you get an employee who is good, but they leave for the same pay or even less, all right, there's a problem there. Why are they leaving? Well, what is the stress that is causing them to choose that transition? And your customers are many times the same way. They may be leaving you for what might seem like a cheaper solution, or sometimes they're going somewhere else for pretty much the same price. Well, that's because they didn't like the way things were working with you. And if so, back to just if things are unsustainable and they've been unsustainable for a long time, you really need to recognize that. You recognize this is not, we're under a lot of stress here. It is creating problems. And you might not have yet identified those clearly. And so that identification element is really, really important. I think everybody handles stress in different ways. How do, you know, you like the camping, right? I'm not a big camper, right? So, you know, my wife sent me a picture of, you know, one of the Facebook memes or whatever, and it was like this triple decker camper, you know, this totally, you know, unreasonable vehicle that was like a luxury hotel on wheels, right? And I was like, okay, now I'll go camping, right? So there's differences in how you're going to deal with the stress. But if you haven't yet recognized the stress points, then you're a long way from dealing with them. The first step is to recognize that there is a problem.
Yeah.
And then you can start finding appropriate fixes and solutions for that.
That's why I think the specific question that I asked earlier is like, is what you're doing right now sustainable? And if it is, do you need to grow? If it is not, what do you need to adjust to make it sustainable? Like it's easy question to ask so you can get answers and make a positive change. Like I can't tell you how many emails I get where people are like, I can't keep doing this. Like,
Hmm.
okay, cool. Let's talk
Yep.
about what you can do. Like
Yep. Sure.
Adam Walter is pretty good with organizational behavior. I came from large organizations where I was taught some really cool mechanics on how to deal with um, stress on your departments and how to create sustainable environments. It's something that I'm good at. Sure, I may never have run an MSP, but I do know how to run IT departments and I do know how to scale really well. The question is, what are you doing to
Hmm.
learn this stuff? Are you taking classes in organizational behavior? Are you taking classes in growth mechanics? Or do you have a mentor teaching you this stuff? Or are you just flying by the seat of your pants? And that's fine too. We're IT people. We like to just figure things
Yep.
out.
Yep.
But you do need a source of truth to help guide you through this. Otherwise, you're going to be stressed to the nines, not knowing how to get out. And as Skip said, you're going to assume this is just a status quo. This is just how it is. And it's not true. I know a lot of business owners that work 4 hours a day because they've created a sustainable environment
Yep.
where their employees are growing the company and they're there to kind of like help make executive decisions. And then they go golfing
Yep. Yep.
and or they work on another entity. They have multiple jobs. They have multiple companies they're running because they've created sustainable environments. You need to be thinking the same way. Where is the stress in your business right now? And how can you deal with it?
Yep.
And I want to close this out with some tips here. So we're coming up to the last few minutes of this podcast. And one is, do you have the right people? And you may say, yes, I have the right people. I still have enough of them. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Bring this up with your team. Say, hey, we need to find more people. Well, we don't have enough money for those people. Okay, why not? Well, we don't have enough contracts because we don't have enough people. Okay, you need to raise your prices then.
Yeah.
And you need to get rid of some of those lower end contracts.
That's an important
There
element.
is an answer to all of these questions. You think you're stuck. And if you cannot think of a way out that is sustainable and clever, talk to a coach. That means you need to like call an Adam, call a Skip, call, a Start, Grow, Manage, call somebody who
Hmm.
actually does this stuff. Invest $10,000 in a coach who can see you through a year or so, and or at least like 4 months, so that you can get back on top.
Yep.
And once you're back on top, you can start taking this stuff and you can teach it to your employees.
Yep.
But business stress is very similar to personal stress, but you have to deal with it in a healthy way. And a lot of you are just doing it on your own. I know I'm trying to sell our coaching services here. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't have to be us. Anybody.
Right.
Get somebody who's been through this, who understands organizational behavior, who understands growth mechanics, and ask them these questions, because there are answers to everything. Like, as I said, I don't have enough employees. Okay, hire employees. Well, I don't have enough money to hire a new employee. Okay, get more money. Well, I can't get more money because I
Yep.
need I need more contracts. That's not the only way to grow. There are other ways. You can
Yes.
find passive sources of revenue for your company. You can increase margins. You can get
Margins.
rid
Yes.
of lower end clients so that you can make higher end deals. You've
Yep.
got a lot of things to choose from to grow that don't involve bringing on new customers. You just got to figure out which ones are the right for this stressful situation so that you can move forward as a company.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the little comment between Adam and I before we started the podcast, was managing stress, and I feel like I'm one of those people that I don't really manage my own stress that well. Just full transparency here, right? But I can withstand a lot of stress, right? For me, it's just it's part of my character or whatever. That it's not necessarily the way to do it, but I see that in a lot of other business owners and business leaders. They might not be managing their stress well, but their capacity for stress is pretty big. And so they just fall into a rut. of this is the way it is. All right. This is the madness. I've chosen this, I can handle it. So it must be okay. All right. But you do have to take a hard look at that. Is this sustainable question? And if what happens, yes, you can handle it, but what if you get sick? What if you get hit by the bus, right? Sort of
Yeah.
thing. It instantly becomes unsustainable. So that's a really good indicator. If you have one single point of failure that causes all the cards to fall down, it is not a sustainable model. So it's been a while since I've been on the podcast, so I'll get to throw out an old one that I've used pretty often, but this one fits really good here. If you always do what you always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So you've got to make a change. If you stop and take a look at your business right now and you go, realistically, this is not sustainable, then you're going to have to do something different, because you can't just keep doing the same thing and expect results to magically change.
Yeah, and I'll close out here as well. It's like you may be in a spot where you're like, I am sustainable. I don't want to grow. I am happy where I am. Congratulations. But you still need to think, is this sustainable long term? You say, yes, it is. We are growing at a healthy rate. We are bringing things on at a healthy rate. Our engine is running and it's being maintained and all the checks are done. Okay, cool. Let's do a checkup now. Are you lying to yourself?
Yes.
So hire an outside consultant who's an expert in your line of business, and there are a lot of them in this industry, and have them just do a quick check. Now, a lot of them are going to point out things because they want your business long term. That's okay. Have them audit your company, have them look at what's going on, and decide, is that something you really want to change? But at least you see now. At least you can see what's going on. And you can say, okay, I am managing my stress, because stress can make you lie to yourself. Like, oh, this is completely sustainable. I'm happy. Like, no, you're just ignoring, other things. But I want you guys to reach the sustainable levels where you've got healthy growth, you've got healthy opportunity, and you've got a healthy work-life balance. You have these things going on. And, then when you get out of whack, when you get stressed, when you grow too fast, or you're not growing fast enough, or people are leaving your business and you're not backfilling it properly, any of these stressors come in, they can say, how do I get back to where I was? That I was happy, where, everything was good.
That's really important there.
Litmus test in place so that you can get back to it. Have that steady, this is our happy place. This is where we are sustainable. We're growing at this rate. We have this many companies. We have this many employees, and that's where we kind of want to maintain.
Yeah. When we get into tough situations, we're always looking for the solution, right? And that's right. But when we're in good situations, we also need to look for the reason, right? Why is this good? And then we can keep an eye on that. That becomes a really good indicator. Hey, our good score here is starting to drift, and that helps you correct before it gets bad, and then you have to find a solution. So knowing where you're at, whether your business is high stressed and unmanageable or in a really good spot, knowing your key performance indicators is going to help you either correct course or stay on course.
Yep. All right, everyone. I want you to deal with your stress. I want you to be excited that Skip is back on the podcast in a regular format. We've got some really great guest speakers coming up as well. We got like Paul Green. We've got I can't remember who else. I've got them all on my list here. I just follow my calendar, people. But Skip is our staple. He's our co-host.
I'm always here.
So welcome back, Skip. It's great talking to you. It's great talking great having a podcast on stress as we grow as a company. Personally, we've got some really cool things going on here at Humanize IT. And we're shifting gears into a higher gear. You guys are going to see some really cool things out of us, but we've created sustainability. We're working on sustainability. Sometimes it hurts to shift the gear, but you need to do it so that you can reach that next level of growth, or that next level of sustainability. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you later, and stay safe out there.
Thanks.